Welcome to the Urban Herald. We're part of the team here, and today we're taking one of our deep dives, really getting into a story that, well, has shaped our visual world. We're focusing on Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, the one that painting behind bulletproof glass, the one millions flock to see.
Yeah, it's an incredible image, but our mission today as part of the Urban Herald is to look beyond just, admiring it. It's actually a pretty small portrait, only about 77 by 53 centimeters.
Right.
We really want to unpack how it became probably the most recognized artwork on the entire planet. It's this amazing story. There's art, yeah, but also intrigue and just this unstoppable cultural force behind it.
And for this deep dive, we've drawn on a ton of research. Its history, which is complex, Leonardo's own artistic methods, which were groundbreaking, and the huge cultural impact it's had over centuries.
We're looking at how all these different factors kind of came together. It wasn't just one thing.
Exactly. So expect us to unpack, the layers of how it was made, the incredible drama around its theft. That's a story in itself. The whole mystery of the smile, of course, and how it just grew into this global icon.
We'll try to reveal some of the mechanics, really, behind how these cultural phenomena get started and maybe more importantly, how they keep going. So let's jump in.
Okay, so to really get the Mona Lisa's journey, we have to start at the beginning. The canvas, the creator. Who actually was she?
Right. Well, the consensus now, and this was really nailed down in 2005, thanks to a little note found in the margins of a book from 1503.
Wow, that's specific.
Yeah, pretty specific. It points strongly to her being Lisa Gherardini. She was the wife of a Florentine silk merchant, a guy named Francesco del Gioconda.
Ah, so La Gioconda, the Italian name, that comes from his name.
Exactly. And Mona Lisa is just a polite form of address, like Madonna Lisa or My Lady Lisa. She was young when she married him, only 16.
16, wow. And how old when the portrait started?
About 24. And the reasons for the commissions seem pretty, well, domestic, actually. Probably celebrating the birth of their second son, Andrea, maybe buying a new house around the same time.
So a fairly standard commission for a wealthy family at the time.
Pretty much. An ordinary commission, you could say, but for an absolutely extraordinary artist. And that's where the seeds of this whole legendary status start, really.
And the artist, Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, where do you even start?
He's the quintessential Renaissance man, isn't he? Born in 1452. His mind just went everywhere. Painting, sure, but also engineering, anatomy, optics, architecture.
He wasn't just sticking to one thing.
Not at all. By 1503, when he likely started the Mona Lisa, he was already a big name in Italy. He had apprenticed with Verrocchio, another great artist.
And his method was different, wasn't it? Not just about painting what he saw.
Right. That's key. He combined this intense empirical observation. I mean, he actually dissected human corpses to understand anatomy, muscles, how things worked underneath.
Which must have been pretty radical then.
Hugely radical. And he combined that deep knowledge with his understanding of art, optics, how light works, how we see things. He wanted to create something incredibly real, lifelike.
And this is all happening during the Italian Renaissance, this explosion of creativity.
Exactly. Roughly 1400 to 1600. And Florence, where they both lived, Lisa and Leonardo, was the absolute heart of it. You had families like the Medicis pouring money into the arts and sciences, creating this fertile ground for innovation.
One of the most amazing things about this painting is how long it took. You said he started around 1503.
And he was still working on it when he died in 1519.
16 years. That's incredible. What does that tell us?
It speaks volumes about Leonardo, I think, his perfectionism, definitely, but also his experimental approach. Oil painting was still relatively new, and he was pushing its boundaries. He wasn't just knocking out a portrait. He treated the Mona Lisa like this ongoing project, constantly refining it.
So it wasn't like he finished it and handed it over to Gioconda family.
No, apparently not. That's another twist. The painting never actually made it to their home. Leonardo kept it with him. He took it to Milan, then Rome, and eventually to France in 1516 when King Francis the Archon invited him there.
So it became his personal piece, almost.
It seems that way. It transformed from this private commission into something he clearly saw as perhaps his ultimate statement, his masterpiece. He guarded it, in a way.
Which leads us to the how, the technique, sfumato.
Ah, yes, sfumato. Leonardo's own description is beautiful. Painting without lines or borders in the manner of smoke.
Like smoke. But how does that work on canvas? What's he actually doing?
Okay, so technically it involves applying layer after layer of incredibly thin translucent oil paint. We're talking maybe 20, even up to 40 layers in some areas.
20 layers?
Yeah, and each one is thinner than a human hair. This builds up these incredibly soft, almost imperceptible transitions between colors and tones. There are no hard outlines.
And he used that particularly around her face.
Definitely. Especially around the eyes and, of course, the corners of the mouth, the smile. That's where Sfumato really creates the magic.
It gives the skin this kind of glow, doesn't it?
Mm.
And because there aren't sharp lines, she feels more present, more alive.
Exactly. It must have been mind-blowing for people seeing it back then. It creates the sense of a living presence.
And it wasn't just Sfumato, was it? There were other innovations.
Oh, absolutely. Even the pose, that three-quarter view, most portraits then were profile, quite static.
Right, looking off to the side.
Yeah. But Lisa looks out, engages with you. That directness was quite revolutionary. It creates this connection that's, well, vital for its later appeal, you could argue.
And the composition.
The way her hands are folded, they form this stable base, sort of a pyramid shape, with her head at the top. It gives the painting a sense of calm, stability, and grace, anchoring that lifelike quality.
So Leonardo poured years, decades almost, into creating this technically brilliant, deeply engaging masterpiece. But that's not the whole story of its fame, is it?
Not by a long shot. It was highly regarded, yes, but it wasn't the global phenomenon it is today. Before 1911, it wasn't even the star attraction in its own room at the Louvre.
Hard to imagine that now.
Mm-hmm.
So 1911, the theft.
The theft. This is where things go wild. And the thief was a guy named Vincenzo Peruggia. He was an Italian handyman, about 30 years old. And the irony, he'd actually worked at the Louvre before.
Doing what?
He helped install the protective glass case for the Mona Lisa.
You're kidding. He installed the case and stole the painting.
Yep. And the heist itself, August 21st, 1911, it was almost ridiculously simple. Security was incredibly lax back then. Apparently only about 12 guards for the whole museum sometimes instead of over 100.
12 guards for the Louvre.
Crazy, right? So Peruggia and a couple of accomplices, the Lanciolotti brothers apparently, just hid in a closet overnight.
They hid overnight.
Mm-hmm. Then, the next morning, which was a Monday when the museum was closed for cleaning, Peruggia put on a white worker's smock he probably still had, went to the Salon Carré where the Mona Lisa hung, took it off the wall.
Just lifted it off.
Lifted it off the 4 iron pegs holding it, took it to a nearby stairwell, removed the painting from its heavy frame, and the protective glass case. The whole ensemble weighed maybe 200 pounds. He just took the wooden panel itself, wrapped it in a blanket or his smock, tucked it under his arm, and walked out.
Walked out, just like that.
Pretty much.
Hmm.
There was a moment where a door was locked, but a plumber happened by and opened it for him, thinking he was just another worker. The whole thing took less than an hour.
Unbelievable. And nobody noticed.
Not for 28 hours.
28 hours. How is that possible?
Well, the museum was closed, and sometimes paintings were taken down for photography or cleaning. It was only when another painter, Louis Beroud, came in on Tuesday morning to sketch it and found the empty space and the pegs. That's when the alarm was finally raised.
And even then, do they immediately think theft?
Not quite. The guards' first thought was, oh, the photographers must have it. Taking paintings up to the roof studio was apparently quite common. It took a while for the reality to sink in.
But once it did.
Oh, all hell broke loose. It became a massive international news story. Front pages everywhere. The New York Times headline screamed, 60 detectives seek stolen Mona Lisa, French public indignant. It was relentless for months.
People must have been speculating like crazy.
Totally. Wild theories flew around. Was it the American millionaire J.P. Morgan who'd commissioned the theft? Was it Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany trying to destabilize France? The painting went from being famous among art lovers to being a household name literally overnight.
And who did the police suspect initially?
Well, hilariously, in hindsight, they actually questioned the poet Guillaume Apollinaire and even Pablo Picasso.
Picasso. Why them?
They'd been linked sort of tangentially to the theft of some small Iberian statues from the Louvre a few years earlier. It was a bit of a stretch, but the police were desperate. They were cleared, of course.
So how did they actually find it? It wasn't missing for just a few months.
No, it was gone for over 2 years. The breakthrough came in December 1913. Peruggia finally tried to sell it.
He tried to sell it.
Yeah. Seems unbelievable after all that time. He contacted an art dealer in Florence, Alfredo Geri, offering to bring the Mona Lisa back to Italy. He wanted 500,000 lire, which was a fortune back then, maybe like 2 million pounds today.
And Geri contacted the authorities.
He did, along with the director of the Uffizi Gallery. They arranged a meeting with Peruggia at his hotel, authenticated the painting, it was indeed the Mona Lisa, and then the police arrested him.
So what was his motive? Why did he do it?
This is where it gets interesting. At his trial, Peruggia claimed he was a patriot. He said he believed Napoleon had stolen the painting from Italy during his campaigns.
Which isn't true, right?
Yeah.
Leonardo took it to France himself.
Exactly. Leonardo brought it to France when King Francis I Heist invited him. It had been legally acquired by the French crown centuries earlier. Perugia's history was completely wrong.
But he claimed he was returning it.
Yes, he spun this story about wanting to return La Gioconda to her rightful home, Italy. And bizarrely, this narrative actually gained some traction in Italy. People saw him as a bit of a misguided patriot.
So he didn't get a harsh sentence.
Surprisingly light, really. He only served about 8 months in prison. The court seemed swayed by the patriotic angle, however flawed it was.
Wow. So that theft, the media frenzy, the recovery, that was the real turning point for its fame.
Absolutely. That was the inflection point. Before 1911, it was a respected masterpiece. After 1913, after being plastered on front pages worldwide, it was an international celebrity. Millions who'd never heard of it before knew the Mona Lisa. That laid the groundwork for everything that followed.
Okay, so it's globally famous. But a huge part of that fame, even before the theft, has always been the smile.
Ah, the smile. Yes. It's got to be the most talked about, most analyzed expression in art history.
And it is kind of weird, isn't it? It seems to change.
It does. That's the optical illusion part. If you look directly at her mouth, the smile seems subtle, almost disappears. But if you look at her eyes or other parts of her face, the smile seems more pronounced in your peripheral vision.
How does that work? Is that the sfumato again?
It's absolutely the sfumato. Leonardo's mastery of those soft, smoky transitions around the corners of her mouth and eyes creates this ambiguity. Our central vision picks up fine detail, but our peripheral vision is better at picking up broader shapes and shadows. So the way he painted it literally plays tricks on our eyes depending on where we focus.
Has modern science confirmed this?
Yes, definitely.
Huh.
People like Pascal Cote, a French engineer, have done these incredibly high-resolution scans. They show exactly how Leonardo built up those multiple, super thin, translucent glazes to achieve that very subtle shifting effect. It wasn't an accident, it was deliberate technique.
Beyond the optics, though, it's the meaning of the smile people obsess over.
Endlessly. That ambiguity is like a blank canvas for interpretation. You had Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, suggesting Leonardo subconsciously painted his own mother's smile, making it the symbol of unattainable maternal love.
Okay, that's one theory.
Then you have the Romantic writers in the 19th century, like Théophile Gautier. He saw something quite different, mocking lips, a gaze promising unknown pleasures. They transformed her into this mysterious, alluring femme fatale.
So mother figure or seductress?
Or maybe neither, or both. The point is, the expression is so subtle, so undefined, that you, the viewer, get to project onto it. Is she happy? Sad? Smug? Mysterious? You decide. And psychologists suggest that this ability to connect personally, to read into it, is a massive part of its enduring power.
That makes sense. And now science is digging even deeper than just the smile, isn't it? Technology is revealing secrets about how it was actually made.
It really is. It's incredible what they can do now without even touching the painting, using things like high angular resolution, X-ray diffraction, and infrared spectroscopy.
Okay, bit technical there.
Yeah. Basically, they can analyze the chemical makeup of the paint layers, and they found traces of a rare lead compound called plumbonacrid.
Plumbonacrid, what does that tell us?
It suggests Leonardo might have been experimenting with lead oxide, maybe to create a thicker, faster-drying base layer for his oil paints. He wasn't just an artist, he was like a chemist in his studio mixing and testing materials.
And X-rays. What have they shown?
X-rays have revealed hidden details under the surface paint. For instance, it looks like Lisa originally did have faint eyebrows and eyelashes.
Really?
But they're not there now.
No. They were likely lost over centuries, possibly due to over-enthusiastic cleaning in the past. The X-rays also show that Leonardo tweaked the composition as he went along. He slightly adjusted the position of her hands, the angle of her gaze. It shows that 16-year process wasn't static. He was constantly refining.
So this scientific analysis really paints a picture of his process.
It does. You see him starting with that poplar wood panel, carefully preparing it with a ground layer, maybe using that special lead compound, and then painstakingly building the image, glaze by translucent glaze.
Dozens of them, you said. Dozens. And the patience required, It's staggering. Each layer had to dry completely before the next could be applied. That could take weeks or months for certain areas.
Wow.
But it's that slow, methodical approach that allowed him to achieve those incredibly subtle effects. The soft modeling, the atmospheric haze in the background landscape, that lifelike glow. It's a level of dedication that's hard to comprehend.
Okay, so we have the genius artistry, the scientific innovation, the mysterious smile, the dramatic theft. How does this all coalesce into its modern legacy, its cultural influence today?
Well, as we said, the 1911 theft was the catalyst. It took it from the art world and blasted it into popular consciousness. The media coverage was unprecedented, and that really laid the foundation for its modern celebrity.
And then came reproduction.
Mass reproduction. Almost immediately after its recovery, it started appearing everywhere. Postcards were huge, chocolate boxes, advertisements. It became arguably the first truly mass reproduced fine art image.
And other artists started reacting to it pretty quickly, too.
Very quickly. By 1914, just a year after it came back, you were already seeing parodies starting to emerge.
The most famous parody is probably Duchamp's.
Marcel Duchamp, yeah.
Hmm?
His 1919 piece, LHOQ, where he just took a cheap postcard reproduction of the Mona Lisa and drew a mustache and goatee on it.
What was the point of that?
It was provocative, part of the Dada movement. It was questioning the whole idea of artistic originality and reverence, poking fun at this suddenly sacred icon. But ironically, by doing that, he also acknowledged and even cemented its unique status. You could only parody something that famous.
And that tradition of artists using the Mona Lisa is just continued.
Absolutely. Andy Warhol did his silk screens. You see Banksy using her image. Countless artists have used her instant recognizability to comment on consumerism, fame, politics, whatever. Each time it's used, even in a critique, it just reinforces how iconic it is.
And beyond art, it's just everywhere. Ads, movies, memes.
Oh, the commercial impact is insane. Someone tracked it by the 1960s. She was appearing in something like 23 new ads every year. That doubled in the 70s. She sold everything from, I don't know, airlines and cars to cigarettes and cheese.
Why? What did she signify in an ad?
That's the interesting thing from a marketing perspective. She became this ultimate cultural brand. Using her image instantly communicates, well, sophistication maybe, intelligence, history, cultural literacy. It works almost regardless of the product. That adaptability is key to her status. She's like a template for how icons work in our media-saturated world.
Which brings us to her current home, the Louvre, the experience of seeing her today.
Right. She's in the Salle d'Etat, which is the biggest room in the Louvre. They put her there specifically because of the crowds she draws.
And the numbers are staggering, aren't they?
They really are. The Louvre gets around 8 or 9 million visitors a year, making it the most visited museum in the world. And estimates suggest that something like 80% of those visitors are primarily there to see the Mona Lisa.
80%. That's almost unbelievable.
It creates huge logistical challenges, though.
I can imagine. What's it actually like, trying to see it?
Well, reports suggest you typically get maybe 50 seconds in front of it if you're lucky.
50 seconds.
Yeah. And it's often through a sea of people holding up phones. One visitor memorably described it as seeing phones, elbows heat, and then just being pushed out. It's not exactly the quiet, contemplative experience you might hope for.
That doesn't sound ideal. Are they doing anything about it?
They are. The Louvre has announced huge renovation plans. President Macron unveiled this massive project costing maybe 700, 800 million called the Louvre New Renaissance.
And part of that involves the Mona Lisa.
A key part. The plan is to create a dedicated separate room just for the Mona Lisa, probably underground. The idea is to manage the flow better, likely using timed entry tickets specifically for her room.
When might that happen?
They're aiming for completion around 2031. The goal is definitely to create a more dignified and less chaotic viewing experience.
And it sounds like it's needed. Weren't there issues recently with overcrowding?
Yes, definitely. Just this past June, in 2025, Louvre workers actually went on strike, forcing the museum to close temporarily. They cited untenable working conditions directly caused by overcrowding, especially in the Salle d'Etat.
How bad does it get?
Well, the museum has a nominal daily cap of about 30,000 visitors, but reports suggest that's often exceeded. And on peak days, you might have 20,000 people trying to cram into just that one room, the Salle d'Etat, to see her. It's just not sustainable for the staff or the visitors, or arguably even the painting itself.
So, wrapping this all up, the Mona Lisa's fame, its eternal reign, as some call it, it's not just one thing.
No, it's this incredible confluence, isn't it? A perfect storm, you might say. You absolutely need Leonardo's genius, the
Huh.
sfumato, the lifelike quality, the innovation. That's the foundation.
But then you need the historical accidents.
Exactly. The theft was crucial. It acted like this massive, unplanned global marketing campaign. And then comes the cultural momentum, the endless reproduction, the parodies, the reinterpretations in art and advertising. Each layer builds on the last.
It really does seem to embody that Renaissance, ideal art meeting science, observation meeting expression. But it's the mystery too, right?
The enigma is key, that smile, the ambiguous gaze. It allows for that constant reinterpretation, that personal connection we talked about. Whether you're seeing it crammed among tourists or looking at a tiny version on your phone in a meme, she still somehow holds that power.
It's like she reflects back whatever we project onto her: beauty, mystery, genius.
Yeah, maybe the Mona Lisa ultimately acts as a mirror reflecting our own fascination with those things, with what makes art transcend time and become, well, legendary. It's about the alchemy that turns skill into something more, something that lasts.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. When you think about the Mona Lisa's incredible journey from a merchant's wife's portrait to this global behemoth,
Mm.
what does her story tell us about us? About how we as a society collectively decide what matters, what becomes iconic, and what does it really take for anything, a painting, a person, an idea, to achieve that kind of cultural immortality?